Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a jerk for not punishing my daughter after she refused to watch her cousin and something bad happened? My sister has a 1.5-year-old son. Ever since he was born, she tried to get my 14-year-old daughter to babysit as she wants them to be close enough, though they're so far apart in age. My daughter has declined as she doesn't want the responsibility of someone else's kid, especially if something were to go wrong. My sister doesn't get it despite multiple people, including myself and my daughter, telling her. Yesterday, we were at our parents' house for a barbecue. It was mostly adults with a few children varying in ages, but my nephew was the youngest. All throughout the barbecue, my sister kept trying to get my daughter to hold him or feed him, which my daughter declined. At one point, I went into the house to help my aunt and mom with some drinks and some sides. 15 minutes later, I am hearing shrieking. I rush outside and she's holding her baby, whose face is bleeding. Her husband is nearby, trying to take the baby to administer first aid. My sister is shrieking at my daughter to put down her phone and saying that she's in a lot of trouble. My daughter looks terrified. Finally, brother-in-law takes the baby and goes to tend to him. I get both sides. My sister went inside to pee, asking my daughter to watch her son. My daughter said, "No, ask your husband." My sister says she told her just to help out and it won't kill you. My daughter flat out told her no, and my sister left knowing her daughter was looking at her phone. The yard was filled with adults, all whom say they were keeping an eye on the little one, but at some point in time they lost track. My parents have concrete steps leading to their backyard. Somehow the nephew tried to walk up them, tripped and scratched his face. He was fine in the end, just a few scrapes. My sister kept demanding that I take my daughter's phone and asked what I would do to punish her. I said nothing because she wasn't watching her cousin and there were half a dozen adults who should have been watching him, specifically his father. Brother-in-law even admits that it was on him and he messed up, but my sister kept blaming my daughter. We left right then and I told my daughter several times in front of the family and alone that it wasn't her fault. My sister is still mad at me and my mom says I should have my daughter apologize. I said no. She did nothing wrong. My mom says that wouldn't have killed my daughter to watch her for 2 seconds. So, am I being a jerk?
No.
I mean, I can understand the sister wanting the daughter to help out just for like 2 seconds, but also if, the thing is like the daughter said that she wasn't willing to, and, the more she pushes the situation, the more I think it's less likely the daughter will want to even consider helping out, especially after something like this,
Yeah.
And the baby wasn't seriously injured. It was just kind of a unfortunate accident. And all kinds of people were available and able to look on. So I think they're making way more big of a deal out of this than it really should have been.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, the daughter repeatedly said no, and she's, if you try to leave your child with someone who has said, no, I'm not watching them, that's kind of on you at that point in time. That you're basically, if someone says no, you're leaving your child alone. You can't assume, especially if it's a 14-year-old. We hear Reddit stories all the time where, people will leave their kids with an adult who has said, I won't watch them, and then said adult gets forced into it. 14-year-olds are not necessarily going to, then just, swoop in and take over. Not that anyone should have to swoop in and take over. Yeah. If you said no, you said no. But, she's a 14-year-old. She said no. She told you she wasn't going to do it. You can't assume that she's going to then just do it because you told her to.
Yeah, and I think that's really the crux here. That's just the situation. The sister needs to learn to take no for an answer. The daughter isn't going to watch her son, and I think that's really the moral of this lesson here. The moral of the story is don't force her to watch. Just don't trust her in the future to watch your child. Now you know that she's not going to watch over her.
Well, and the aunt also kind of, because part of the reason why she doesn't watch him is in case something goes wrong,
Yeah.
and the aunt has just proved her point entirely.
Yeah.
Because something did go wrong when she wasn't even technically watching him, and the
Mhm.
aunt flipped out. So what if she had been on watch?
Yeah, exactly.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for laughing after my brother lost a game of chess?
Yes.
No. My girlfriend is a chess master, which basically means she's really good at chess. My brother recently got into it and seems to believe that he is the smartest person alive for understanding how the game works, as only smart people can truly understand the art of chess. His exact words. My girlfriend and I went to my brother's house to pick up some things. I'm under the impression that my brother believes my girlfriend to be a casual chess player. When he learned that my girlfriend played chess, he challenged her, remarking, "It would be nice to teach a pretty girl about the art of chess, and she could learn a few things from him." My girlfriend was more amused than offended and took his offer. The game was over in literal seconds. I don't really understand how chess works, but I do know that he was checkmated in 9 moves. I found this all kind of funny. The change in his demeanor from overconfident to defeated, so I laughed. It was even funnier when he accused my girlfriend of cheating. How do you cheat in chess? And said she must have been lying, etc. So a few more laughs left my mouth. My girlfriend gave me a look, so I stopped laughing, but he kicked us out anyway. My sister-in-law is mad at me for laughing and at my girlfriend for not being more gentle in her win, claiming that she was purposefully showing off her skill.
Well, I can really understand the point of view from the bratty little kid here who got his, butt beat by this chess grandmaster who thought they were, the best person to ever have walked the earth. Like, I can totally get that perspective and why it would be, they would think that, because clearly, they're just really that good. And, I imagine that the girlfriend must have cheated because girls just can't do chess. Amber's giving me dagger eyes. I'm under duress. I'm very uncomfortable.
I can't personally play chess, but
I can play chess. Okay, so let me tell you about my chess story here. I'm not very good at chess, but one time I beat the computer on the hardest mode of chess, and this isn't an attribution to my skill, but more of an attribution to how badly I played chess, because knowing how the algorithm works now from a more higher level perspective, the way it works is it expects you to try to make the best move, but because I probably played so terribly and made such bad moves, it got confused, and I actually ended up beating it, just from like an algorithmic standpoint. So it probably had nothing to do with me actually playing chess well. It's just pure luck that I beat the computer once. No idea what I was, I thought, at one point in time, I thought I knew what I was doing with chess, but I've seen people play.
Yeah, I have absolutely, I've never really been interested in learning. It's just like, it's not my cup of tea.
I used to think that playing chess was, was a thing that made you look smart. And as a young, impressionable, teenager who thought doing things that made you look smart was a smart thing to do, I played chess even though I don't ever think I really enjoyed it. Let's put it that way.
I am a really sore loser, so long games that you're likely to lose at are just not my thing to get invested in.
Well, if you played her, it would take like 9 seconds.
Well, yes, but like then I would suck. So
yeah, well, actually, if you do speed chess, they have like a timer, like a 5 or 10 minute timer. I don't know, and like the games don't go very long. So
well, I'm still a sore loser.
Yeah, that doesn't help the sore loser part, but you can play chess fast. They don't have to take hours. That's my chess story. So okay. On a serious note, I don't think the girlfriend did anything wrong here at all. He came in all cocky, being like, "I'm gonna beat you, and I'm gonna teach you something," to a chess grandmaster.
Yeah.
And never once realized that maybe, just maybe, he shouldn't run his mouth.
Right, well, and then, like, the sister-in-law is like, she should have been more gentle in her when she's showing off. It's like, what was he doing?
World's smallest violin playing the world's saddest song. That's what we have here for this person.
Like, I mean, I would have laughed too if I was there.
I would have laughed. I would have thought it was hilarious and probably just mocked the person too, been like, "Oh yeah, you sure showed her what you sure showed her what moves to make on chess."
I would have just laughed. I wouldn't have mocked anyone, but I would have laughed.
I mean, yeah, I probably would have mocked them a smidge.
Especially if they were your brother.
Especially if they were my brother. All right, a non-chess related story. Our next story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Not Trading My Vegan Meal with a Vegan Who Got a Non-Vegan Meal? When I was invited to a friend's wedding, I got a card to indicate which meal I wanted. They were offering a choice of a meat dish or a vegan dish. The meat dish that they were going to serve is one of my least favorite things. When I eat it, I have to spit it out or I feel like I'm gagging because it tastes so bad to me. Since I have such a high aversion to this meat dish, I decided to check off as wanting the vegan dish. By the time that dinner was being served, I am absolutely starved because I didn't have time to eat earlier as I was running late. Some of the other people at my table noticed, obey. Some of the other people at my table noticed that another guest at another neighboring table was having some issues because they got served a meat dish instead of the vegan dish, and they are vegan. The waiter goes back to check in on the kitchen and get a vegan dish. Meanwhile, my table is being served and I get a vegan dish that I ordered. One of the people at my table noticed that I had the vegan dish. He knows I'm not a vegetarian or vegan, and he questioned if I got the ladies at the neighboring table's food by mistake. He unfortunately said it loud enough that the neighboring table heard and everyone was looking at me. I explained that I actually ordered the vegan dish because I do not like the meat dish. By this time, the waiter comes back and explains to the lady that there was a mistake and they do not have another vegan dish, as they were only told a certain amount of vegan dishes. So a guy comes from the lady's table over to me and asks me to trade. I told him I really can't stand the meat dish. He gets argumentative and says it doesn't matter if I don't like it. I can still eat it and she can't. I said no again, and he says I am being a picky little baby and tries to take my plate. Then another lady from his table pulls the man away and I eat my meal. Later, when it's time for cake, I get a vegan dessert. It just looks as good as the cake, but I think about offering to trade the vegan dessert with the lady as I see that she got the cake. I ask the others at my table, and they say not to because it will just get the man mad again, and they said that he was drinking a lot, so I didn't. Later, as everyone was leaving though, I did hear a comment from the guy again, saying that me, the fake vegan, apparently has issues with cake too. Edit, apparently a lot of people are confused because they keep getting this question. The card I'm referencing in the first paragraph came with the invitation and the RSVP before the wedding. The card specifically asked which dish I wanted, and I checked off the vegan dish. All right. So what do you think of this one?
I think this one's just a lousy situation. I don't think it's OP's fault.
Yeah.
First of all, the caterer should have had some kind of backup. Like, if you have a vegan meal, you can expect that there's going to be the possibility that something's going to get switched or someone's going to change their mind last minute. So it's really surprising to me that they didn't have any kind of alternative.
Well, and you would think that the caterer would have extras of meals just in case and not have like a very exact number. And so I think that in this particular case, OP's not a jerk here. I can certainly understand their hesitation to offering the cake too, just because of the whole situation there. And I think that that's just a bit of a unfortunate situation, like what you were saying. Maybe instead of putting the onus all on OP, other people who were getting the vegan dishes could have come together and offered...
Like everyone share a little bit of their plate.
Offer to share a little bit of their plate so that... You know, and usually these plates have a lot of food on them anyway, so it wouldn't have been that big of a deal for a lot of people to potentially share a small portion of their meal, depending on how many people there were. And then that way no one would have had to go hungry. It could have just been a announcement over the intercom asking people if they were willing to share a small portion of their meal.
Yeah, so, I mean, that could have been a good way to handle it, but I don't think OP's in the wrong for wanting to eat the meal. I mean, because for all intents and purposes, he can't eat the other meal.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, like, yes, it's not like a moral objection, but it's still like you can't eat it. Because I'm a picky eater and a vegetarian, and like I wouldn't eat foods that are morally objectionable, but I'm also not going to eat foods that disgust me and make me want to spit them out. So like,
yeah, well, and the thing is that he has a clear aversion to the food, and you know, he wouldn't have been able to eat the meal.
Yeah, and
even if they had put it in front of him, he wouldn't have eaten the meal, and so. I can certainly understand why they would be unwilling to sacrifice their whole meal for this person, especially if they didn't have a chance to eat earlier.
Yeah.
But it seems like a really unfortunate situation that doesn't really have a great answer.
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's like no real good solution. Like, if I were in the person's shoes, like if I had a vegan dish and like I was supposed to get or I could have eaten the vegetarian one, but it was just really gross, I probably would either split it or give them my food and then go hungry.
Yeah.
But like, I wouldn't expect someone else to do the same. I'm not big at eating food at fancy events anyway, so
yeah. And me, if I had been in an OP situation, I probably would have given up my plate, but I'm just not a very picky person either.
No, you're not a picky eater.
And so it would have been fine for me. I mean, even if it wasn't something I liked, I can usually still eat something even if I don't really like it.
I can't.
It just is a matter of like, whatever. I don't really like this, but I can, choke it down, so to speak.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I've eaten a lot of food that I didn't like in my time. There's a lot of unappetizing food on mess decks, let's put it that way. Have you ever had powdered eggs?
No, I have not.
So yeah, this is just it's just kind of an unfortunate situation.
It is.
I can't blame OP, and then I also, with this person being actively hostile, I can understand why they wouldn't want to even go and offer the cake. Like, if he had just come over and been like, hey, we overheard, would you be willing to sacrifice your meal? And if he had said no, then they just left it at that. Right. Then OP might have been actually like, hey, I noticed that, I was wondering, I got the vegan cake option. I know that you couldn't eat the vegan meal. Would you want this? Yeah, so that would have been, but yeah, with the guy being as hostile as he was, because it would have been fine if it, like you said, just asked. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no harm in asking if someone would be willing to trade. But for him to insist like that and try to physically take the plate away from him, yeah. I can see why OP wouldn't want to engage with that person again. Yeah. And I'm also the kind of person who, if it was something that I just couldn't have eaten, I would have probably still been willing to, give up some of my food for the person, or at least, have a smaller portion myself too. So I think there were solutions here, and I think the catering company should have, rectified the situation immediately.
Right. Like, the caterer is really the one at fault, and, like, I just can't fathom that they couldn't come up with anything that was vegan. Yeah. Like, even if they didn't have that exact dish, which they should have had extra of, but, like, there was nothing they could have produced for her that was vegan.
Yeah. I just think that's really poor planning on their part. Very poor planning. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving it a like. If you didn't, consider giving it a dislike. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, Happy Friday, Junior.
Oh, yes, Happy Friday, Junior.
And you'll see Amber here is dressed up as Harley Quinn.
Yes.
So you want to tell them about that?
Sure. So I have a Instagram account, all of my outfits, and I do a lot of bounding, like Disney bounding and other kinds of things. And so there's a Pride Month challenge going on right now to bound as your favorite, this week's LGBTQIA plus movie and TV characters. So I went with Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey. My hair dye didn't come out too well, but I have some temporary dye in my ends as well.
Yeah. So, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
I'll see you tomorrow. Amber won't.
I won't.
You might hear her from the corner.
Yes.